Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, 3 Degrees of Love. This is your girl Alana here. If you're new here, welcome. And if you're just coming back, welcome back. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. On this channel, of course, I am talking all about love and mental health and, just wanting to build a community where we openly discuss topics that affect us in our daily lives and honoring creators and anything that sort of brings forth joy and spirituality and things like that. So, of course, with that being said, wanting to grow the community, I would really hope that you will subscribe, like, share the video, and comment on anything that you want to see more of, that you enjoy about the videos that I'm putting out. One thing I do really enjoy, of course, in terms of spirituality and introspection and mental health is definitely a love of tarot and oracle and books, of course. But so far, really, the tarot aspect is winning, tarot and oracle. And one of the other things that I really like doing is getting to know a lot of the creators that are behind all of these decks, and getting to know them as creators, as people, and what inspires them, and just bringing forth, highlighting them and thanking them for their creation, and just bringing you guys the joy of getting to know who these people are behind all these wonderful things that they create. So with that being said, the next video I have for you today on this special day of love, happy Valentine's Day, February 14th, is actually a deck that was on Kickstarter that as soon as I saw, I absolutely fell in love with, because it is a deck all about love. And it's called Love Is Always the Way. And I had the joy of meeting the creator behind it, doing a video chat with her. And her name is Shannon. And it was such a joy to speak with her because I felt like, well, even just when I first came across the deck, it was like she's speaking the exact same language as me, all about love, and getting to know her as a person, as a creator, and getting to hear her story and how this deck came about, what was her inspiration, and the process and where the deck is at. So of course, just to give you a little bit of an update, the deck, it has been fully funded, on Kickstarter, and it is set to due to come out. There isn't a set date yet because, as most of you probably know, with decks and the pandemic and everything like that, everything is sort of a slow process. Also, recently it is Chinese New Year, and so a lot of overseas production has come to a halt in honor of the holiday. So in the meantime, I will definitely have all of her links down below. So if you are interested in the deck, you will be able to see the campaign as it was, as well as to follow Shannon on her Instagram and her website. So I will have all that stuff linked down for you below. And let's just dive right into it because she is such a joy, and I want to share her and the love of her with all of you. So until we see each other again. Live, listen, and learn, all in the name of love. Bye, guys. Happy Valentine's Day.
All right. Hi, Shannon. Nice
Hi,
to
Alana.
meet
Hey.
you. Thank you for joining me on my channel today, 3 Degrees of Love. This is exciting because everything that you're about is exactly what I'm about. And of course we were chatting prior to, to filming and stuff. And um it's like we're kindred spirits because our birthdays are like a day apart from each other. The love and hearts, and we vibe on that same frequency. And I found your deck and it speaks my speak. And there's just so much similarities that it's just really exciting. And to be able to finally put a face to such a wonderful deck that is in the progress of being made to be coming out soon. So this deck is called Love is Always the Way.
Yes.
And from you sent me a few sort of write-up synopsis beforehand in regards to, sort of a little bit of the history on how the deck came about. And no word of a lie, when I read it, like my heart sank and I immediately started crying, because I'm just like, like that. I couldn't fathom, losing somebody so, close and dear to me, in that way. And just to imagine what you would have gone through with the loss of your brother, you know, as sad and heartbreaking as that is, it's bittersweet, because out of that sadness came this wonderful creation that you're about to put out. And even out of that tragedy, it's sweet joy to have something. Because as a lot of people would know, as I started my channel. And funny enough, how the channel sort of started is out of sort of my own tragic sort of journey with my life, and how things sort of came about. And but I realized that on this sort of awakening journey and ascension, love is my speak. It's my language. It's what it's always been. Even when I didn't really necessarily know that, it has always been a part of who I am. And so getting to meet somebody else who that's their language as well, is such a joy and an exciting thing. So I'm so happy to have this opportunity with you. And and just sort of to get in more about, this wonderful deck that you have, coming about. So we know that, or not we, I know rather, everybody else is going to learn about this. But, sort of how the deck came about again, with the loss of your brother. But what else inspired this deck?
Well, there's a lot of answers probably to this question. So for those that don't know, I did lose my brother 11 years ago unexpectedly. So I just went wide-eyed open into this grief journey and decided to just face whatever it came. And so my brother was just big love when he was here, very powerful. And the message that I just kept hearing from him over and over was just love, love, love. And then that sort of morphed and evolved into the words love is always the way. And so I kept saying that over and over and was living it and saying it more. And I started seeing hearts every place. And then I would take pictures of them and put them on Facebook. And so it just kind of became this little movement. but it was always something that I was saying, and people would be, oh, Shannon, love is always the way. And people would text me pictures they would find. And it just reminded me that it's a vibration. And once you tune into it, like love begets love, more begets more love. And so I just saw this energy start to develop. And then my mom passed away 4 years later, and she was big love too, just the epitome of grace and just beautiful. And so it's just that energy and that effort and that intention just kind of started to build in me. So I started a Facebook page and an Instagram, and initially it was just pictures of hearts and love quotes and just good juju, kind of like, you know, what you're doing on your page also. In the meantime, I've always been an empath. I've always been highly intuitive and sensitive. And so I think my brother transitioning unexpectedly really brought that to the forefront. And so my abilities have developed to a much greater and higher extent since that happened. So I've been in the last 11 years playing with all kinds of tools, doing all kinds of things to just practice, figure out what worked, take myself higher in the ascension process. And one of the things I was doing was fooling around with tarot cards with no training at all. I mean, I ordered some decks and I was just throwing cards just because it was fun, but I really didn't know much. And then, you know, we hit a worldwide pandemic and I was spending a lot more time at home alone. So I decided that I wanted to just put some legs under what really was a hobby, and learn the history of the tarot and how it worked. And then I also had some oracle decks. So anyway, long story short, in the last couple of years, I've done a much deeper dive, added to my collection, been practicing. So that was sort of happening. And then I thought I can do this too, because I'm in marketing in my day job in the real world, but I love to write. I've been writing since I was like this big. And it's really my passion, and love is my passion. So I just brought those two things together and just started writing, and it just kind of flowed out. I've written a book more about this experience of loss and grief and love and how that's transformed me. And it's just kind of sitting on the back burner. I thought honestly during this time out that we've had, I would actually rewrite that, but that's not at all what came forward. What came forward was this deck. So I think it's what needed to come into the world at this time. And I did a ton of research, just looking around, like who else has done decks on love? What are they about? How are they formatted? And I just felt like I had something to bring in a new and different way, I guess in just my voice. And so I wrote first and then sketched out some concepts and hired an amazing designer, because I'm not an artist. I've realized in this process that some people design decks from an artist perspective. They design and maybe get help with the writing. Some people write and then get a designer. Some people do everything. Some people are just creative and they hire it all out, and there's no wrong way. But for me, I wrote it and I just sat down and I just penciled out just tons of concepts around love. And I refined the list and refined until finally there was 56 concepts that we then built cards around and I wrote. So it's been a really beautiful partnership with my designer, and it evolved mutually. So I started with the writing, and then I gave her the ideas and she designed, and then I would write more based on what she designed, and then we put our heads back together, and then now we have this beautiful piece of work.
Amazing, super amazing. So if I may interject, you said that you're not an artist, but actually you are. You're a creator. And
Yeah.
essentially when you sort of define the word, it's the artistry is in your head. And you word it out for someone to be able to pen it out, basically, or draw it out, or design it out, if you will, right? Yes. But don't sell yourself short. You are a creator. You are an artist. I think that's the thing. A lot of us are like, I did the same thing. I do the same thing, actually. I, would consider myself not necessarily, artistic in that sense of drawing and stuff like that. I can't draw to save my life. Drawing is like my drawings still look like a 5-year-old did it. So yeah, so I don't, yeah, but but when it comes to sort of putting things together and ideas and there's different forms of artistry, right? So like writing is something too that I love, right? Like poetry and things like that. So yeah, don't sell yourself short. It's the work that you have created, that you were able to team up with somebody to bring forth and push into this world, basically give birth to, is truly artistic and beautiful. And I so can't wait to have the deck in my hands. Just to tell you how excited I am, like a lot, people know that one of my sort of, I would say, inspiring people that I look up to is Lisa Papez from Supportive Tarot, and her wife Peggy makes these beautiful bags. And I have a love for her bags, tarot bags, and all of that stuff. So just to tell you how excited I am, I actually already secured a Peggy bag for your deck. Okay,
Yay!
it's sitting at home waiting patiently for your deck to come out. Yeah, so and it's yeah, and so you the other thing I was going to ask you, actually, but you already started answering, was your tarot journey and things like that. Just like you, I'm new to tarot, probably in the last maybe 4 years. I've always been a spiritual person, but more on the sort of the religious aspect. Growing up, spirituality, religion was a big thing, part of my family, Christianity. But I always had a longing for, or desire, if you will, that there was something further, there was something beyond just that. And the dogma of religious practices has never been something that really held me or my interest, right? I've come to witness a lot of hypocrisy and things like that. So I more so focus on the teaching aspect of it rather than the rules and the regulations. And actually, I just learned a new word the other day, which is omniist, which is basically the type of person who takes teachings from various religions, but doesn't necessarily particularly identify with any one specific, right? And sort of, uses those lessons as a form or a way to live life. And I would say that's pretty much what I am. Although I still identify as Christian, just because, I believe in Jesus Christ and all of that stuff. So I'm a Christian omnius, if you will.
Maybe you need to make a Christian omniist oracle deck. There you go.
So yeah, and so and then yeah, of course my love for tarot has grown, and of course, just like you, with the pandemic and everything, that really sort of opened up the floodgates, or Pandora's box, if you will. So yeah, like so what is like sort of being new to tarot and stuff like that, as you sort of developed, what is your practice like? Do you have a particular practice?
Well, I run cards almost every day, because what I have found, especially as my abilities have increased, like I said, I always have the intuition, and to me, it's just a tool. And I really like cards because it's the extension of energy. And I find the more I do it, like my hands or my fingers start getting itchy, because it's almost like it gets the energy off me and helps me process things that are happening, things I'm trying to understand, and brings through information. So I have a process of when I have several decks, and my favorite deck, this is the one I use every day. This is the one that's for me, my favorite. I don't know if you can see it. This is the Chris.
Oh, the light seers. I love Chris Ann. I have all of the decks actually.
Yeah. And she has a creator's deck. So what you said about being a creator really resonated. Thank you. But it's interesting because when I first started doing tarot, I bought a couple. And then, like I said, in the last couple of years, I've bought several more. And I thought, oh, this is going to be my main deck. And I would get it and I use it. But no, I use it for others. This is the one that's bonded to me in my life every day. So when I get a deck, I sage it in, clear it, sage it. When I first got them, I would hold each card to my heart and connect it to my energy and then shuffle. So nerdy. This is in my intro, as you know, but like if there's 78 cards in the deck, I'm a Virgo, so you appreciate this. I'll shuffle it 78 times or whatever for the first time. And then every time I use it, I shuffle it 11 times just to start out the day or the card read. And then I can start to bring through the information. So, and then I had a lot of oracle cards before I got more into tarot, because as many people know, oracles are just easy. I mean, you can shuffle, ask a question, and sometimes the answer comes right forth, right? Whereas the tarot is more about crafting a story or a storyline through, a set of 78 cards that we all use. But it can be a little bit more challenging at times to interpret, whereas an oracle card sometimes will just deliver exactly what you need and how you need to hear it without too much extra, I guess, effort or interpretation needed at times,
Yes, absolutely. So, okay, so can we see the deck? Do you have a prototype?
I don't yet. I'm just finished, hopefully, the final revision and editing. So, and I don't know if you track any of this stuff, but China's in Chinese New Year right now. So pretty much China shuts down for 2 or 3 weeks. So I was hoping to get the sample in to get the prototype before they shut down, but it didn't happen. But actually it's kind of worked out because a friend of mine took a read through of my book last week or 2 weeks ago and put fresh eyes on it. And I'm super grateful because she found a lot of mistakes. I'm a small business, like small gig here. So I've been doing my own editing for the last 1.5 years, and I'm tired of myself. I'm not catching errors because I've been looking at the same text for so long. And also, just even running something through Word, which I wrote most of it in, it doesn't catch spelling errors because it might be the right word in the wrong context. In the wrong context, right?
Yes.
So anyway, I was super grateful. She took a read through. She's not woo-woo or spiritual at all. So she had this really clean filter, and she's an attorney and she's a total grammar nerd. And so she gave it back to me with a ton of changes. And so I was actually very grateful. So those are being implemented. We're working on our final revision, but the box is done. Or the design is done. The cards are done, but putting together the layout of a book is a lot of work. And doing everything the first time is it's been exciting and fun, and seeing things come to fruition. So all that to say, I don't yet have the prototype, but I hope to in the next month.
Oh, that's okay. You know what? I for sure, even to follow up, I will definitely be doing, I will do a run through, or even we can meet again and maybe do an unboxing together. That would be super awesome, right? Because like I said, this deck is just when I saw the campaign, I immediately fell in love.
Yay.
After all, love is the highest frequency, right? So there you go. And I'm just so super excited, and just even the prompts, as we were talking a little bit, earlier prior, is that I and at least even with my mission, it's like I find that in the older I get, the more I observe of the world, and of course, even now to present, since the pandemic and everything, we're a lot more disconnected than we ever have been, as a society, people, and stuff like that. And so, it's like now I have this mission to be, no, let's operate from a place of love, like, and really sort of tapping in, to what that is, right? And the different degrees of love, which thus the name of my channel. And, and I've sort of identified, the number 3. And as we were talking previously, 3 is my life path number. I recently discovered so is yours. So that's another thing we have in common, right? And, which is so amazing. And yeah, so like the idea of, living life of love, listening with love, learning from a place of love, and sort of embodying, those things. But even taking it a step further, there's 3 types of love. We start with the inner part, which is love of self. You extend that to whether, be love in a relationship with someone else, where it be, romantic or platonic, or with, family members. And then love of your environment, love of, society, love, and do, and the acts of what you do, how you live your life, right? And I think somewhere along the way it's gotten lost, and so having this desire to get us back there somehow. I mean, I'm only one person, right? But the idea that sometimes that's all it really takes is just one person with another person, and then, and then sort of building that connection, right? And that chain, having that sort of chain reaction. And, and just hoping that, we can get back to that, right? And become whole again, because we're so disconnected, right? But yeah, so this of course is your first project, your first deck. Any future plans for decks to come forward?
Yeah, I've got like 3 separate lists that I'm running just because I write down ideas constantly. So I have 3 additional ideas for Oracle decks. And then I do want to do a Love is Always the Way tarot card deck. I know there are some other decks out there that are love, or tarot decks that are love or whatever, but I haven't quite seen what I have in mind, because I want it to have the same feel that the Oracle cards do. And I'm hoping, fingers crossed, my same designer can work with me to keep continuity of the style and the look. Because sometimes even when I'm throwing for myself or throwing for somebody else or checking the energy, I just feel like there's not always a deck of cards in the tarot that's soft enough for the love vibration. It's a very high frequency, but even some of the love decks, the tarot has its share of shadow side and hard edges, right? But with that said, I think I look at everything through the lens of love, and I want a deck that does as well. So that is my goal. So I'm doing the deeper dive into understanding it right now so that I can write it. And I want to take the traditional tarot and then put it through that lens. I mean, the Shannon lens, and also the Love is Always the Way lens, to bring forth just a new creation and way of doing it, based on tradition. That's what I'm kind of finding, because as you know, you can look at traditional decks in a couple different styles, traditional styles, or people do very intuitive tarot decks, and I find my speed is a little bit in the middle. I really value some of the traditional aspects so I can follow and apply, and then I also highly value intuition and bringing in what that particular suit, card, meaning, whatever it might be, means to you as the person who's reading or interpreting.
So this Oracle deck that you've created, it's from what I'm sort of gathering and what I've seen of the few images that was on Kickstarter. Yeah, well, I don't think I mentioned that it was a crowdfunded, which was successfully done, of course, and it was on Kickstarter. And it will be available for pre-order as well, which of course all of that info I will have linked in the description box. Do you have a link for the the pre-order yet, or no?
Yeah, no, so that's the next thing. I need to get the book complete, the revisions completed and off to the printer. And then next piece is I'm gonna do a Shopify store. I'm not gonna sell on any of the other stores. I really want to have my own, make sure I have my own look and feel and control of how I want the store to look. So, you know, it may end up being parallel, that by the time that the cards actually are produced and get here and are ready to go, the store launches. So I don't know about pre-sale so much, but sales, yes, but it just depends on how the timing comes together. So I want, you know, I just think my marketing background and, you know, what little bit of design perspective I have, and being a Virgo, I just want it to be just right before I launch it. So in the meantime, I'm really using Facebook and Instagram to just keep things going. Like I'm putting, doing some thematic posting and maybe choosing 2 cards at a time that I feel work together, and putting the upright meaning on Facebook and Instagram, and some other quotes and various things. So that's sort of how I'm keeping things going. And then at the beginning of this month, I started doing a monthly card pull, which I want to do at the beginning of every month. And since I didn't have the cards yet, the actual physical cards, I printed them out. I cut up all the little cards in like mini size. I put them in, I put them in a bowl, and I pulled one, and then I printed a much bigger size. So the video, you can check that out just to kind of see, because so many wonderful readers on Instagram and YouTube and all the good places do incredible reads, but I thought, what can I offer? Well, I want to look again at a monthly approach based on love, kind of what's going on energetically and what we need to focus on and work on. And that's what these cards are really about. It's like validating where you are in love. What do you need to focus on and learn right now? How are you relating? I mean, it kind of goes to those 3 things also that you were talking about self, other, and ultimately environment, which I think includes earth too, right? You know, we have to have
well yeah, and that's kind of what I meant when I said environment too, right? I didn't just necessarily mean like the immediate environment. I meant her world, but yes. And so would you say that this deck is more of an affirmation deck, or like there's a bit more of a structure to it? So like with the guidebook, like are there going to be exercises, like journaling prompts?
No, but so it's kind of a yes and yes. It's a validation deck. I think it's a intuitive guide, inspiration, validation, but especially I did do reverse positions. So regardless of how anyone decides to work with the deck, I personally keep my cards upright when I shuffle, but if they come out up reversed or upside down, I read them that way. I know some people mix everything all together. No, you know, there's no wrong way, but I really wanted to provide the reversals through the lens of love also, which is just, it's a tough love, like some hard questions. If, you know, if something comes up like self-love and you get it in reverse, well, the question is, how are you not loving yourself? So there's some prompting questions, encouragement, inspiration, and validation for sure. And also humor. Like, you know, my brother was just funny as F, and you know, I have some of that too. And so I wanted it to be impactful, but also light, and just keeping it real. But also, you know, if we're not laughing, then what are we doing? I mean,
Exactly.
But I just feel like joy, love, and humor, you know, it's all so important. It's all part of the formula that keeps us healthy, happy, and whole.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so it sounds like it's definitely going to be an all-arounder. Probably at first glance, from what I saw too from the images, it's like at first glance it looks like it's sort of an affirmation sort of deck, but with the guidebook, working with the guidebook, you know, there's a little bit more sort of in-depth aspect to that, you know, and that's what I really like. Yeah, and no, it's funny because as you were saying, you know, I was shaking my head because I'm like, yes, there's no wrong way to shovel a deck, but in my Virgo brain, everything must stay upright. If I have to, like, if it comes out reversed, I still will lay it out upright, but then, you know, keep a mental note that maybe having to read it, you know, the shadow aspect of it, you know, is sort of what I would look at. But yeah, people who shuffle the deck and have the upset, I'm just like, no, why?
Stress, yeah. And, and we're all a work in progress, and that's why even the reversals are, it's tough love, but it's light, and it's just all about being your best self. So because we all have things we can work on ongoingly, whether it's for today or the next month. And that's part of the reason I wanted to do the monthly card pull, because what's the energy of the collective, what's happening out there, and then how do we bring that down to land and look at in through the lens of love, which really can apply to anything in any part of life. What is it that we need to work on individually, but also as a collective? And this goes back to something you were saying earlier, and I've been talking to a couple of my friends about this in the last week, is that you change yourself, you change the whole, right? And as you were saying, all we can do is, you know, be love, act in love, and all those things ourselves, so that, I mean, I call it the ripple effect. It's one ripple goes out and changes everything. So it all matters. And this deck really reinforces that everything matters. And we're here in this human incarnation, this go around to learn and ascend. And we all have things we need to work on, big things and little things. So the idea is this can sometimes help also channel or focus what it is that you and I and all of us need to be working on at any given time, because we're in interesting times, right? Like energy is shooting up through the atmosphere, and we are ascending, and things are shifting and changing in major ways. And to your other point earlier, that we need to come back into the vibration of love, because it's the highest vibration there is. To me, it's the divine, it's God, it's Allah, it's Buddha, whatever, you know, whatever you subscribe to, whatever you want to call it, but it's the light and the energy of oneness. And we've never been apart from it, but because we are it. But what's happened is we have become separate in too many ways, right? So we're in this period of shift and healing, and I'm all for tools, like whatever works to help anyone, you know, be on the path, stay in a good, healthy place. And tuning into the vibration of love is never a bad thing, right? So however that looks for anybody, it's all good, you know.
Absolutely. And you know what, and you couldn't have picked a better time to reach out for us to do this together. Like, we're in the month of love. Valentine's Day is on Monday, you know, and actually it's funny, I think now that I think about it, I think I'm probably gonna put this out.
Yeah, I was hoping you would. I was like, I'm wearing my love necklace. Let's get it going.
Right?
That's always the way. And I know, you know, I was thinking about it because I put something up the other day, and I know not everybody's into Valentine's Day because some people feel it's commercialized. And
yes, and it is, but you know what? It's the spirit of it is what, and it's the same thing with Christmas, right? Like, I mean, you know, everything has become so commercialized, so materialistic, so, you know, but the spirit, we tend to forget the spirit. And, you know, love is, you know, the idea of love, and, you know, celebrating, you know, Christ for those that believe, and all of those things. What the meaning of it is has gotten lost, and it should be something that we celebrate all the time. It's not necessarily just, you know, something that we only do in the month of February or on Valentine's Day. We should always be living, you know, from a place of giving and caring and love, right? Yes. Which all of that falls under love, right? So it's yeah.
I think any day is a good day for love. And so anything that brings the focus in on it in a good way, and take what works for you and leave the rest, is good. So
absolutely. Okay, so just 1 second, because I've been thinking about it, and I wish I thought about it before, but I want you to see the Peggy bag that I chose.
Oh yes, let's see the Peggy bag. Oh,
I don't know if
it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. Does it say love and love? Love and
it says joy and love.
Love. Oh, Yay, Peggy.
Yeah, and there's like the rainbow, and I would say that the text is written in what looks like a purplish blue.
Like periwinkle.
Yes. So that's why I was like, when I saw this, I had to grab it right away. Like, and there's pink on here too. And there's more. It says, "You are magic." So wait, hold on. You are made of magic.
Oh, I love
And
that.
joy and love. Yeah. So when I saw this, I was like, yes, this is the bag. This is the bag.
Well, it's funny because I've been working on, as the final edits and designs are happening, I've been working on some of the other elements. Like they're of course going to come in a beautiful box and all that stuff, but for the Kickstarter participants, I'm going to get a nice I think organza bag, and then part of the rewards were some crystals. So I'm just working on getting all those pieces together, and it's just so fun to bring the design elements together, because I want to just create a really lovely experience for everyone that ordered a deck and is going to order a deck, and just have those nice little touches, like really bring the vibration into the 3D.
Oh my God. Yes. I so can't, like, you have no idea. Like, I'm so excited for this. Like, it just, like, yeah. So, well, then again, it doesn't take much. I'm a child at heart, so it doesn't really take much to excite me. It really doesn't. Yeah. So, and I'm like, anytime, anything that, there's so many, new fantastic decks, and even doing this channel, lately getting to meet some wonderful people, and, and it's all exciting. It's just so like, yeah, it's love. That's exactly what it is. And I like feel like I'm bursting, like, and even the people that I meet are just so amazing. So yeah. But so we talked about that. We talked about actually, there was one thing I wanted to ask, because as we were talking about doing the work and workbook and stuff like that, would you ever do a workbook, like a companion workbook to the deck?
Yeah, I'm not opposed. One of the Kickstarter rewards was a journal, so that's going to come, but I don't know that it will yet have prompts. I was thinking about doing something that had spreads, for example. So especially for beginners, I think in my intro that I sent you, and there'll be illustrations that actually come in the book. So one card drawing, 2 card, 3, 4 soul contract, relationship, some different options, just also the Celtic cross, just some basics. So this may be in the works at some point, is to have a journal where there'd be different sections, and there'd be the layout where you could pull your cards, and then fill in what you pulled, and then journal underneath, maybe with the date, what the card was, and that's a good idea, some additional prompts. But I tend to pull cards myself and not record them. I have another really close friend who, she takes notes on everything I say, and she says pretty much, which is fine, but it would be so nice to have just a concentrated spot, I think, sometimes, because you want to go back and be like, oh, you know what was that reading I did for myself or anyone else a month ago, because something is coming to fruition, or you need to check back in with the guidance and see how it's it's resonating at that time. So thank you. I will definitely keep that.
Yeah, or even if it was just like printable pages or something like that, right? Like, maybe not necessarily designing an entire like book, right? Because that's the other thing that I found that I run in with another creator, and now sort of friend of mine, who she created the Reclaim Oracle. Yes, and so she created this beautiful journal to go with it, and it's very in-depth, very interactive, and the only reason why I have not grabbed it yet is because I'm like, I'm gonna buy it and I'm not gonna use it, not because it doesn't have wonderful things in it, but because it's so pretty. I don't want to ruin it.
Yeah.
I was like, I will end up buying the journal, and it would just sit there for me to like beautifully look at. And then I would get like a cheap, journal, whatever, and then just do everything in that crappy one. So that I don't have to ruin the pretty one, right? So, and maybe that's again the Virgo sort of, perfectionist thing of me. I don't want to ruin beauty, right? So yeah, and even though that's what it's meant for, I still wouldn't use it that way.
Yeah.
So
well, and
yeah.
I love a beautiful journal because it ties into what I do in my marketing career. But I'm actually doing a spiral for this because I don't know about you, but technically when I write, I like to be able to flip the pages all the way open and turn them over. And so often with those bound journals, I love them too, but you're trying to like press it down and write. Whereas with the spiral, you can just flip it open, turn it one way or another. So it gives a little bit more accessibility. So
kind of like this.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah. Good old dollar store journal.
Yeah, I love paper and I love pen, and I still write a lot of things down. I have been late to convert to some technology. I mean, not at this point, but still, because I just love the feeling of taking the pen in my hand and writing things down. And I think as I've gone through this spiritual evolution too, I understand that's also a channel, right? So when I sit here and scribble notes, keeping a piece of paper, a pad of paper as I'm doing my regular work and taking notes, it's because these hits keep coming in and I just got to write them down. And then there's something very, what's the word? Not healing, but powerful about energy moving through it. Same with cards, right? For me, at least, the energy and the information comes through my body from pen to paper and then also through the cards.
Yeah, it's so amazing. And even the thing is with tarot that I found, growing up, Christianity, there was always a stigma that, oh, it's bad, fortune telling, stay away from that kind of thing, Wicca, witchcraft, like all that kind of stuff. And even back then I had a sort of an interest in, learning about it. But because of that stigma and from what was, it was almost that fear was sort of, put in me. So I stayed away from it from, for a very long time until, more recently and recent years where, it sort of opened up the world of that has sort of opened up where people are not just using it for fortune telling and things like that. We're using it for self-care. We're using it for introspection. We're using it for journaling, for, self improvement, right? Self-care. So, and there's so much that you can do with that, right? And even now with all the different, oracle decks and things that people are creating, like this, love is always the way deck, there's so much more than what the teaching was from way back when about what tarot, and cards were all about, right? And it's something textile, it's something tangible, it's something that we can see and process and, and sort of develop, from there using our imagination, using, our thinking brain and all of that kind of stuff. So, yeah, there's so much room for growth, when it comes to things like that. And just like you, I very much, I'm into stationery and I like that sort of the tangible thing. Like when it comes to books, I much prefer to have the book in my hand where I can turn the pages, see the words, smell the book, right? All of that is such an experience where, now we've moved into the digital world where, ebooks and e-readers and things like that. It's not the same. You're staring at a screen.
On my computer anymore than I have to during the day. So I love the feel of a good book. But I also wanted to say too, I think you made some really good points that all these, I say tools, but whatever it is that you use, cards, pendulums, I mean, you name it, are complementary, I think, to any religion or spiritual practice, nothing is not complementary. And I think people get sometimes into fear-based ideas and mentality about it. And this actually goes back to something you were saying earlier that made me think that there's really two forces in the universe, fear and love. So part of the work that I'm committed to and what I'm doing is the antidote to fear, because fear takes you down, right? And I mean, I am actually, another thing we have in common, I was raised Catholic as well, but I was raised by a Catholic and an atheist. So it was an interesting combination. And I remember, I mean, I have such appreciation for growing up in the Catholic Church. It provided good values and stability. And even to this day, having to put on 2 pretty big funerals, it's given me ritual and appreciation for a lot of things I was raised with. But am I a practicing Catholic? No, I am not. Do I check that box of spiritual but not religious? Yes, I do, right? Although I might start using that word. What was it? Whatever you
Omniist.
said. Omniist. I really
Yes.
like. But I didn't know about tarot cards and things like this so much when I was a kid. But I will say, actually, recently, my aunt, who's my mom's sister, gave me this oracle deck that she had bought 20 or 30 years ago. She's cleaning out her house a little bit. And so she handed me this box. So it's like an antique. But as a kid, I had no idea, or even a young adult, that she had even anything like that. So, but I have to say, I don't think I grew up so much with the fear. I'm from California. I'm from a very liberal, progressive area. So the Catholicism that I grew up with was also pretty liberal and progressive. So it wasn't a very fear-based experience for me growing up, but I didn't fully resonate with the structure and, like a lot of things you said, that the abuses and a lot of the shit that that goes on. But from a very young age, I just knew that religion didn't really resonate with me. And so in my 20s, I went through this phase of like, am I agnostic? Am I atheist? Like, I don't know. But I just wasn't really resonating with religion, but I didn't really know if I was into nothing, and I didn't really understand. So, I was just doing my thing and living my life. And then things were starting to open up a little bit. And then my brother died, and it just went from like 0 to 100, because there's nothing like the transition of a loved one who's there one day and gone the next. And there's no such thing as death. So, I mean, he stepped over the other side of the veil, yet he was and is still so here. So it transformed everything I thought. And it's been an ongoing process over the last 11 years of religion, life and death, spirituality, connection with divine, spirit, soul, all the things. So it's been a really nuggety, interesting journey. And I don't know about you, but having come from a box, so to speak, one of the things I needed to do was get way outside the box to think differently, explore, consider. And I'm just finding my own way. And we live in an infinite universe. And so possibilities are infinite. Beliefs, however you choose to define them, are infinite. I mean, as long as you're not hurting yourself or anyone else, I'm open, so it's just been this really cool and beautiful process. But I'm also a Virgo, I'm an earth sign. So I've found very grounded ways to implement and be. And one of them is, again, working with cards and creating cards. So this is just kind of how it's all evolved for me, and taking, like you said, the grief and turning into joy and being able to teach and share. Because one thing I feel like I've gotten clear on is that I came into this life, especially with my brother's help and partnership, to be love, to give love, and to teach love. And I have come to the understanding that teaching doesn't necessarily mean getting up in front of a classroom as a 9-to-5 Monday through Friday, because I've never felt compelled to do that or be that. It's just now we're in this era, as you are doing too, just by doing these videos and posting, where we share, and just by embodying the spirit of love and doing our work and being our best self, we again change the whole, and we teach by being. So, I mean, I teach by being, but I also am now on this path of intentional sharing and creation. So
yes, absolutely. Very, very, very beautiful and very well said. So I for sure will have, all your information linked down below. I can't say enough and express enough how excited I am for this deck and any future projects that you have coming, our way. That will be super excited to see and follow along with. And of course, you're gonna have like your Instagram is definitely very active, and you're always sharing stuff. So of course, any future projects, I assume that as long as people are following you, will be in the loop as to what you have going on. And yeah, I like I said before, I really hope that we can come and do this again, even for like an unboxing when the deck finally comes out, because yes, right. And my dear Peggy bag is lonely.
Maybe we'll have to see you put the deck after unboxing. We'll have to see you put your deck in the Peggy bag.
Yeah, and the only reason why it's called the Peggy bag, because her Etsy shop is called Sparxcreations, but her first name is Peggy, and so we've come to, it's just grown on it, and so we call it Peggy bags, right? But yeah, so it's just super exciting. Yeah, well, thank you so much for joining me on my channel today, and being able to share your love of love, if you will, and spreading that joy, and helping me do that. Like it's just so amazing that how to learn from other people you've never met, and then just to see even similarities. We're both Virgos, we're actually a day apart from each other, and that was super exciting and amazing to learn too, right? So of course it's made me fall even more in love with you already, just learning all of this, right? So thank you so much. And as we depart, but we as in everybody else and us sort of depart, until next time, continue to live, listen, and learn, all in the name of love. Yay, all around.
Love is always the way. Thank you. It's been such an honor and a really delightful conversation, so thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you for joining. Awesome.
No matter what people want you to believe, don't ever turn back.